Welcome to the No Stand Zone podcast. My name is Tiae. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here and never take you guys for granted. Always a pleasure. Feels good for me, not just mentally and emotionally, but in my body. I can feel it. I can feel the goodness in my body, like the excitement. I can feel it every time I want to record and get you guys kind of like in my thoughts about what I'm thinking about when it comes to the Nigerian music industry. It's always a pleasure to have you join me every single week. For you first time listeners, thank you very much for pressing play on the pod today. It took you a minute. It took you 34 episodes in for you to join us, but at any time you come in, what can I say but thank you for being here. Whoever recommended the show to you, you should buy them a gift. I mean, we're getting close to the end of the year. We're talking about Christmas gifts, we're talking about New Year gifts, we're talking about Thanksgiving gifts, whatever kind of gifts you give this period at this time of year. If whoever recommended this show to you, you should buy them a gift, because they've done you a favor. They've also given you something very precious. They've given you something very valuable as well. I can bet that you would have a great time here, because I mean, right here is all about gems, real thoughtful conversations where I think we're having here. And I've had to listen to a couple of listeners as well who certify that the conversations we're having here really rich as well. Once in a while, I have folks come in and we talk about some pressing issues around the Nigerian music industry, African music industry, movies and plays and all of that. Once in a while, okay? You guys can go listen to past episodes like the one I've had with folks like Adeayo, who is the co-founder of the Turntable Charts, right now the only certified chart that we have for the Nigerian music industry. So that is out there. I'll also be talking about Adeayo on the show today. You need to stay tuned for that one. If you are a old time listener, you've been here a while, thank you very much as well to you for joining on the show. If you haven't yet, please do not hesitate to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's No Stand Zone Podcast with Tiae, just like that, on YouTube. And on Twitter is No Stand Pod on Twitter, and you can follow me straight directly as well. I some of my thoughts before the show, because I mean, I'm thinking about so many things throughout the course of the week, and things are happening. Some of them I cannot wait to the end of the to like Sunday or Monday to put out the content. I'm dropping like little gems to give you an idea of what I'm thinking about, what is on my mind. So you can follow me. It's Tiae Sound. That's Tiae Sound on the Twitters. Okay. And a lot is happening on Twitter even now, just outside of the music. A lot of people are leaving right now, and I'm still kind of like fingers crossed on that. I still haven't made up my mind as to that, because a lot of people, still know me via Twitter. So I mean, if I'm moving to any other place, I will let you guys know. Not moving, and I'll leave Twitter alone. It will be some kind of like joint thing as well. I will be active on Twitter and also be active wherever I go, and that's going to be difficult. I mean, we all have our own lives. I'm trying right now to stay off Twitter for not stay off Twitter permanently, but I mean trying to restrict the amount of time that I spend on Twitter every single week. And so I don't know what it would look like if I move to another social media network, and I have to monitor both at the same time. And the thing is, right now, even with TikTok, and I haven't mentioned TikTok here because I'm not even active on there at all, and I know that's where everybody is. That's where people get a lot of information right now. But I know myself. Right? I have to be honest. The reason why I have not been active, I haven't really spoken a lot about TikTok, is because I know that as difficult as it is for me to, kind of structure the amount of time I spend on Twitter, is going to be worse with TikTok, because, you guys know it's like quick information. It's like quick stimulation and all of that. And I'm one to fall for all of that. So I'm just trying right now. But if anything changes, I will definitely let you guys know. And as always, I'm open to whatever suggestions you guys have for how the show should either improve, get better, what you were doing right. I would appreciate that, and what you think we can do better as well. As always, I'm always open to all that good and fun stuff as well. So let's dive into what I've got for you today. Today we're trying something different because I really want to get something off my mind real quick. We always start the show with new music and all of that. I think it's always a kind of like a slow, steady way to get into the pod, and then we get to more serious stuff. But this week, man, I don't think I can talk about new music until I can share with you what is or what has been bothering me throughout the course of the week, for sure. Like it's kind of fun of mind, and it's about the Grammys. Now, I spoke about the Grammy, what, last week? Is it last week or 2 weeks ago now? Maybe last week or 2 weeks. I can't even remember at this point. It must have been last week because the nominations came out on the 9th, I think, and we had the show on the 10th last week, where, well, that's when I recorded it. And I have to say, I remember, like, a couple of people who know me on Twitter, for example, who follow me, most of them, or a large number of them, if they see my handle, or if you mention my name, most people know me because, like, they attach my opinions of the Grammys to me. Like, that's how most people know me. Oh, this guy, whenever he comes, and it's Grammy period, most people already kind of have an idea of, oh, they know what I'm about to say because they've heard me talk about this a number of times. And as much as I want to get my views across on this particular topic, I'm getting this particular past, like, this season of the Grammys, I'm just tired. Like, the last time I felt like I needed to talk about it, just to talk about the nominations and all of that, give my thoughts on that. But even when I try to not think about it, it's right there in my mind, and it was just bothering me all throughout this week. Like, I had a lot of thoughts around it, and I could have just let it go. Like, I was invited to be part of a space this week. I honestly, apart from the fact that, okay, I probably didn't have enough time. I mean, I could have made out time, but knowing that the conversation was going to be about the Grammys, honestly, I was just tired. Like, I felt like I've been talking about this for 2 years. People don't listen, right? It's like people are more, it's more of, they have, folks have people they listen to. Now, I am not, like, dragging people for that. If you have someone or a voice you like to listen to on social media and all of that, I mean, it's fine, right? But at some point, even when I'm being invited to speak on these things, I'm like, do I really want to spend time thinking about it, them talking about this, right? And to be honest, this just popped up in my mind, that one of the thoughts I was having this week. It's gonna get a lot difficult to talk about the Grammys and its problems, or how it negatively affects the Nigerian music industry, is going to get extremely difficult to talk about them moving forward, and anybody given a listening ear. One thing that has happened the past year is that the Grammys is taking in as more as members, more like people who are notable in the industry. So I think there's a conflict of interest right now. Like I mentioned 2 years ago, when this new African category was mentioned, I mentioned it then, even before folks are having think pieces now and releasing videos now of how, this new categories are not really helping the music industry. I was talking about it 2 years ago, right? Of how this categories doesn't help us. It doesn't help the industry, right? I was talking about how we need to start building something at that point. Now, 2 years later, folks are kind of at that spot too. But then one thing that's also happened is a lot of people have been members of the Grammys now, that even if you want to have these conversations in the open, in the public forum, public square, you're going to have defenders. There are a lot more defenders of the Grammys out there today, that these conversations are almost pointless to be having at this point. To be honest, for me, I mean, I mean, good luck to people who have been accepted to be part of the Grammys. I understand what it means and the kind of like the gravity of it, or put it on your social media and say, Grammy alumni or Grammy member. It kind of does something for you, for people. I totally understand that part. It's same thing with being Grammy nominated as an African artist, right? It kind of puts you in a different light. But for me, I kind of understand the artist part. But there has to be a space where we can talk about these things and actually talk about how this thing is more of a poison to the industry. I'm not even sugarcoating anything. From the perspective of the industry. Now, the artists, I totally understand. The record labels, it's all a game. Whoever still doesn't understand that today, you're bugging. You probably should spend some time still looking around how the Grammy works, right? So I'm looking at that today, that from the outside of the artist, from someone who's in the industry paying attention and kind of giving critics and giving people flowers, whatever it is, who's just studying how the industry moves, understand some of these things. The Grammys is becoming, this nomination, that category is a poison to the industry. It is not helping. It doesn't improve the industry. It just showcases the one where these people can make money out of. In fact, that category, it's becoming this whole African whatever thing it's in that thing, that whole category, those categories is becoming America's or Africa's America's best African artist or something. You get what I mean? The African artist that is most palatable to the Americans. That's basically what this categories are for. Because I mean, let's be honest here. Kizz Daniel has not been nominated for the Grammys. That's madness. But you say, oh, it's best performance. Exactly. That category was never to showcase the best of us. It is for them to to prop up themselves, make themselves look good. I mean, at the end of the day, the Grammy is just a product. They just sold the license of that product for $500 million to Disney. So it is to get eyes on their product at this point. And what are we going to do about it? And I mean, I didn't have this strong language 2 years ago, but 2 years in, that's what I'm saying. It is never to recognize the best of us. This category was never to recognize the most hardworking and the best of our music. Never. Because if it was, Kizz Daniel would have been nominated for sure at this point. I mean, he had two of the biggest songs in the past, 2 years in the world. I'm talking about Tiae. Like, what are we even talking about? I mean, he didn't even smell it. Right? So, I mean, if somebody say, oh, he didn't submit, but at this point, does the Grammy look like what is going to accept that? Let's talk about the people who submitted last year. Right? Amare submitted her album, which is undoubtedly the best album, the best pop album on the continent. I have not heard a pop album that crisp, that incredible from songwriting. It was just perfect, 10 over 10 album. The best album on the West African, on the continent, I can say. Like, I can brag about it. We can have a conversation about it. It did not get a nomination. The best R&B project to have ever been produced in Nigeria, talking about Nonso Amadi, When It Blooms, was not also picked, but he submitted. So what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? This category, the Grammy category, is a poison to the Afrobeat, to the music genre. It is not celebrating the best of us. It is just celebrating, like what? It's celebrating the sugar, the thing that can give you a quick high. It's not celebrating the healthy food of the industry. Like, we have to be honest. And the thing is, this, and I can confidently say that this is a very, this is a very like extreme take on this, because there are going to be tons of people who are either connected to the Grammys today who are going to defend it, whether they like to or not. But you're part of the system now. A lot of people are part of the system now. And for me, it's hard for me to fathom that we all don't see that that's a problem, right? So, I mean, that's kind of like where this was bothering me throughout this week. Like, how is it that that is not the conversation we're having? That two things can be true. This artist can do whatever they have to do to get to wherever. But we who are looking from the outside in, who have, kind of no, we don't have anything to win or lose. We don't have a song we're trying to, submit to the Grammys and all of that. We can say honestly what we think about it. And I mean, we can say, well, it is what it is. The industry is what the industry is. We haven't built our own stuff, so we're kind of like where we are today. So I mean, two things can kind of be true, right? And another thing that got me thinking around this Grammys thing is, and trust me, I don't want to be thinking about it, but it's like when you care so much, and it's like it just pops up every time. Either I'm just going about my day, right? I'm listening to a song, going about my day, or I'm about to go to bed. These things pop into my mind every single time. Another thing about the Grammys that just occurred to me while looking at the nominations is this. The Grammy is playing with us. They're actually spitting on the face of our artists right now and telling them it's raining. What do I mean by that? What I mean is this. The Grammys is part of it. It's becoming a participation trophy. That is what the Grammys is becoming, that. And you ask, oh, what do I mean? Well, I mentioned this last year when Burna Boy was nominated for when he was nominated for that rap category. And when that nomination happened, I mentioned it then. That one, there is no hope of him winning. Two, he doesn't even qualify to be in that category. That was a slap in the face of American rappers and melodic rappers who have done a lot more to deserve that spot. And I said that is probably what would I put it? That's probably a gift or a favor by somebody, or I don't even care at this point. I mean, I don't give a fuck whatever the Grammys think about that, but that is my strong opinion about whatever that is, right? Because when the Grammys become one to nominate, trendy songs, right? They've distinguished themselves as one who don't care about those kind of things. I mean, was that $1 billion baby or million wasn't nominated this year, and it's a bigger song than the Burna Boy song from last year, and that didn't even get nominated. So I mean, what are we even talking about here? And I saw that last year, and we're seeing something similar again this year that I want to point out, because they're just putting our artists where they don't deserve to be. And I will stand 10 toes on that. Tems nominated for the R&B, and I mentioned this the last time, the R&B, like best R&B song. Tems doesn't deserve to be in this category. She's out of her depth to be in this category. Now, if you want to say top 20, 30 R&B songs in America, fine. We can find a way to put her there. But if you're looking for the top 5 songs to nominate for best R&B song in America for the Grammys, this is not a world R&B. The best R&B song in America. This nomination here is the participation trophy. Somebody is giving it to her for doing work on the back end. Because I can pick any song from one of the songs that was picked for R&B album of the year. I can pick any song from that, right? And any song. So let's look at the best R&B album, right? Well, the best R&B album. So because we need to start thinking objectively here. I look at the best R&B album. There's Chris Brown 1111, which is, for me, best R&B album from last, like the deluxe version. I haven't listened to all the songs, but you see that the original version, I have like maybe 10 of the songs there, of more than 10. of that, how many songs are just on my liked playlist, right? So I'm biased there as to the one I like. There's the Lala Hathaway with Venta Black. There's Lucky Day with Algorithm, Money Long with Revenge, Usher Coming Home. Let's just pick the one that is my favorite, right? Any song from 1111, will tell you any song. Let's even start from track 1 of 1111. Track 1 of 1111, which is the 10 Toes, Angels, whatever. Because I can't even pull that up now. It will waste so much time. That song beats this one. Any song from the Money Long Money Long album, I can bet, because these people are all better vocalists than Tems is. So I mean, I honestly, I don't even. This is what I'm talking about here. This is what I'm talking about here. We honestly, and I know people are like, oh, she knows how to sing this, whatever. Fine. But are we actually sitting here today, in November of 2024, you're telling me of all the R&B songs that was released in America, Tems deserves the number 5 spot? If you are thinking that, it's absolute bullshit. And we know she's not going to win this. Another person with a participation trophy. While we're still at it, let's keep going. Another person with a participation trophy. Rema gets nominated for Best Global Music. What are we talking about? This album doesn't even qualify for a top 10 of the albums in Nigeria released this past year. In my book, it barely makes it, even if, for me personally, it doesn't even make the top 10 albums in Nigeria this year. Another participation trophy to Rema for Best Global Pop. What the freaking heck are we doing here? If I know these artists will be excited, but I'm looking at it like, bro, this is a slap in the face. Because one, you're not winning this award because this album doesn't even deserve to be in this category. What are we talking about? This album, of all the albums that will get him a nomination, not Raven Roses though, where he had a song there, one of the biggest songs in the world, not that one, with several other songs that you can look at and say, okay, yes, this song can get him there. A lot of work, a lot of dynamism, a lot of creativity gets him there. That nomination for a global, because the album, was several hundreds of millions of streams on some of those songs. And it's not just the streams, like people actually know these songs, right? Actually shot him out there as a global artist, right? The Raven Roses album, either the deluxe or so. That album did a lot for him, both in Nigeria, on the continent, and around the world. Like, that's no doubt. But he did not even get a nomination for that. It is this one that does not stand a chance. It's so mediocre compared to Raven Roses. That is the one he gets the nomination for. What are we doing here? Participation trophy. How doesn't anybody see this as some sort of insult? Because what I keep seeing is people keep celebrating this. People are celebrating this. And, well, I think I know better. Because people are celebrating this because it's more about the blogs, about, getting engagement. So people will say whatever they kind of have to say to get engagement online, and the fans of this artist will like it and share it. The people who don't like it will, will hate, share, hate, like, hate, comment, and all. And then, it's all about getting getting publicity out there. And I think that I kind of get, right? That I kind of understand. Me asking the question in the first place was just, it was just me thinking out loud. But how we're not looking at this as participation trophy is ridiculous at this point. And that is why I go back to what I have always said from the beginning of all this. More than 2 years ago, I've been talking about us creating awards of our own, right? And I mean, most people are tired of hearing me say that. But the reason why I keep saying it is because I'm shocked. I'm surprised of the lack of vision that most people have today. Let me not get ahead of myself. The next thing I want to quickly talk about is this article that came out a few when let me look at the date here. It's by Adeayo. Came out October 30th. I'd wanted to talk about this. I'd wanted to talk about this a while ago, but somehow I just postponed it. But it looks like today's just the perfect time. Everything is just it's just kind of falling in line with each other, and I think it's the perfect time to kind of mention this. So let's go ahead. Adeayo had this article he wrote a few weeks ago, and he titled the article "Why the Lack of Award Shows in 2024 is an Indictment on the Nigerian Music Ecosystem." Brilliant. I mean, and you guys know I've had Adeayo here. I'm one of the first few episodes into on the pod here. I had him here, and it was such an incredible conversation we had. I mean, getting to know his story and the story behind the turntable charts, all of that, great stuff, right? And I like to listen to him sometimes, although we we jam head sometimes on social media because we kind of not like hate jamming head or anything or trolling, but we kind of disagree on some things, and there's some things we actually do agree on. One of them I will talk about on one of them I think I've already spoken. We actually do agree on how incredible what's her name? How incredible Fave's project is. Kind of agree on the same thing, that it shows a lot of growth and creativity. It was splendid. I mean, when I saw his tweet and I was like, wait, bro, it's like you've been listening to the pod, right? You're just copying what I said, right? You know, just kind of playing around with him, and I was, kind of sharing the same thing. We kind of spoke about this on, kind of had a back and forth on this on social media about how we both agree that was a splendid project. So there are times where we both agree, and there are times where we definitely don't. And on this article, you would see a lot of that where we both agree and where I strongly disagree with him, right? And it's totally fine. So this one, why the lack of award shows in 2024 is an indictment on the Nigerian music ecosystem. You guys can go read the article for yourself. It's short, real quick. I can guarantee you that you would really like this. You really enjoy it. It's a really pleasant listen. It's on Pulse NG. You go check it out. Go check it out there. So the whole premise of the award, of the whole article, he's went into how did we get here, went to do the history. We've had the Headies, Headies Awards and all of that, how all of that it kind of died down because of lack of vision and all of that. And he eventually then went to what can be done. And this is where I disagree vehemently with him. Now, I agree that the lack of structure in rewarding artists and stakeholders in the ecosystem, it's kind of bad. And you see, this point he's making here, this is one of the points that I actually do love and agree with. And I have said it before. Art, I've mentioned it on this pod before. Art is meant to be celebrated. Art is meant to be appreciated. That is why even in ancient times, guess what? They drew whatever ideas they drew these things on the walls of caves. There's something about art and art needing to express itself. And the moment art expresses itself, there is always there has to be some sort of appreciation for it. I think it's like both, it's like left and right, up and down. Those two things go together. The moment you have art expressing itself, or art in its full expression, in full display, and there is no appreciation or reward for it, it's almost like you're allowing it die. It's almost like the art dies. I mean, that's how I see it. It's like it just goes into thin air. And that's why I've always stood on the fact that there has to be some form of award show. And it cannot start because of how difficult the environment is, especially in Nigeria, the way the ecosystem and all of that is. We have to start somewhere. You cannot start this unless the vision is strong. You cannot start this. There is no way you're starting in this difficult ecosystem or you're getting some form of funding if the vision is not strong, if the passion for it is not greater than the problems that exist. If the passion to really create this is not greater than the problem and the challenges around, this is never going to start. I mean, people should know that now. Let's get that out there. No matter how much people really think award shows should happen in Nigeria and for the Nigerian music ecosystem, if there isn't a stronger passion for it to happen than the problems that exist, both economical and structure of the industry, if there is a passion greater than that and a vision greater than that, it's never going to start. No matter how many billions you throw at it, it's never going to start. And Adeayo mentioned the award show for the movie industry, right? I can't recall the name now. Okay, I think it's the African Magic Viewer's Choice Award, right? That is still moving today because the vision and the passion to make sure it happens is greater than the problems that actually surround the movie industry. If we don't get that at this point, there is never going to be an award show in Nigeria. Because, I mean, just look at the situation of the country. It's getting dimmer and crazier by the day. And for it to happen every year, the passion and the vision has to keep surpassing the problems. And I see that fine. I mean, that sounds crazy, but that is the only way we start for somewhere. If you're looking at the Grammys and they're 60-something plus years in the industry, and that is the only, you're looking at just the shiny thing, where Grammys is today at 60 plus years, you're never going to move. You're never going to move. You have to see it as some sort of inspiration, not a place to start. The Grammys today, you cannot look at that as a place to start. That has to be a sort of motivation for you to start small. People don't like starting small. People like the shiny things. And that's why nobody seems to have started at least something. Let's even say the vision or the passion is not there. But nobody seems to be able to start because they see it as a thing of shame to start small. But start with quality. You don't even have to start with a show. Like, this is 2024. There's AI, there's different things. Like, there are a lot more people who are handy in the industry today, right? That I'm thinking, how is it? We don't even have to give it to outsiders or like foreigners to get this done. There are Nigerian creatives who can kickstart this thing from the ground up. But there is no vision. Without the vision greater than the problem, you're not going to get funding. You're never going to get funding. I don't know how you're going to do that. And that goes to the next thing that I actually did disagree with Adeayo on this article. One of the things he mentioned is that one of the solutions or something to the problem, I think he mentioned that folks or music people who are in the government should can help make this thing possible. So he mentioned that to mitigate the problems on all of that, he said organizers and academics must lobby appropriate ministries, agencies, public affairs, government support. Nah, that is a recipe for disaster. If you are looking for government funding to get an award show going, that is a recipe for disaster. We just mentioned that some of the problems that award shows have not been able to really go anywhere is because of the way the country is, like security and how do you get, it just makes everything expensive. How do you then rely on government funding? Because governments change. You know how many governments have changed in the past 60 years since the Grammys started? That has nothing to do with them. No matter who goes in the Grammys, it has to be outside of the government influence. It has to be. And I'm not saying the solution to this is easy. I'm not saying it's something you can just get done, right? But I'm saying without the right vision, honesty, if we're not being honest with ourselves about what the problem is and what the solution is, and if we don't have a passion for this, most people don't. That was a conversation I was having on the Afrocritic space a while ago about the passion for new upcoming artists and all of that, and just for the industry. A lot of people don't actually care about this artist. A lot of people don't really care about the industry. People just come on Twitter and talk. Most people don't really care. But like, what are we talking about? Most people don't care, or most people, they don't care enough. They don't care enough. Because if you throw money at this problem, right? This is a very unique problem. If you throw money at it without the passion or the vision, it's gonna die. You're gonna find yourself in the same pot of mud and shit. Worse than where you were when you started. It's gonna be a lot of shame, and it's gonna be a lot of waste of money. You're not gonna see it as an investment or as a stepping stone for something towards the place you're trying to get to. So, I mean, shout out to Adeayo, but the government funding agencies, that is not the way. Those are never going to help us. Because then you're never going to get those people to care more about the industry and the music and the music ecosystem than you do. What do these government agencies know about the music? They don't know as much as you do. They don't care as much as you do. So how are they going to see the vision? It has to be a private thing. There are banks, and these banks are making investments every year. Like, people are making investments every year. The Capital One here in the US, Capital One, a bank, funds the iHeart Radio Music Awards. What are we talking about? So I think, and I don't believe that these banks are making, their profit there, but I don't think it's their greatest investment. But the investment there has to be also, it doesn't even be monetary. Most of the people coming there are going to be young people. Most of them don't even, some of them wouldn't even, thousands of them wouldn't even have bank accounts. And this is an opportunity. The first bank they probably know is Capital One, because those Capital One do promos and all of that, give out tickets. I'm sure you cannot do all of that if you don't have a Capital One account. They give special perks. If you have a Capital One account, you can get the tickets early. So a young person, 18, 19, who's just coming out of high school or whatever, probably doesn't have an account of their own that is not being monitored by their parents or whatever the case may be. That's a way, all of that fun stuff is not happening if the organizers don't have some sort of vision. And for me, that's the part that I'm wondering, that how come there are not more people speaking about this? How come there are not more people passionate about this? Right? And I've spoken to Adeayo about this. He's one of the founders of the Untitled Chapter. And I spoke to him about doing some sort of award, not necessarily award, but doing some sort of graphics or video or something visual at the end of the year. And it doesn't, because you are dealing with data and all of that, right? Let it be that. Let it be that. The MTV Awards is basically that as well. They just give popularity awards, the most popular songs. The iHeart Music Awards is the same thing as well. They just give it to the most popular artist that probably has been playing on their radio stations the past year. So there is space for all of that. So you can start from somewhere. Most people are thinking of, if we don't look like the Grammys, then we're trash, then nobody's ever going to start anything. If that is the way you look at it, because the product I'm trying to introduce doesn't have as great popularity as existing products, then I probably shouldn't start. If that is your mentality, then nobody should start any product. Apple should have never started then. Right? Because there was cell phone companies and all of that have existed before Apple, or had bigger market share than Apple. BlackBerry was balling at the time. Apple could have as well packed his load and gone in, right? Because they didn't have as great market share as as BlackBerry at some point. But I mean, today it's Apple or nobody else, right? So I mean, it, man, you see, this is why I say whenever I talk about it just gets so tiring for me that every time I talk about it, it feels like it's the same thing every year. It feels like it's going into an echo chamber. But I care a lot about this, and I feel that it is necessary. Like I've always championed on the internet, on the spaces, that is great. I mentioned a few years ago that we need an award show with a vision, and someone is asking me, what does award show have to do with vision? Well, here we are today. How do you create a product like the Grammys that is worth $500 million? How do you do that without vision? How do you do that without passion, without caring for the music to some extent? And I mean, I've shitted on the Grammys on today's episode, but I mean, to some extent, you can see that they care about the music. I mean, they have producers, and the way they work. I mean, largely, you can say they do care about the music. You have to create a product this expensive, this expansive, known across the world as well, right? So you need to care about the product and the makers of the product as well, the artists and all of that. So I mean, at some point, we've got to do something. I mean, I can keep talking. I can talk about this forever because it's just how I feel about just about how I feel about this whole awards, the Grammys, and I'll say it again. Most people don't see it yet, but this African category is created is a poison. It's a poison to the Nigerian music industry. I will stand 10 toes on it, because this category do not help the future of the industry. It does nothing to help the industry. It just shows up our most shiny object. And I mean, we're talking about the best R&B, right? The Grammys have several categories. They showcase other things as well. They don't just showcase the best rap, best R&B, best pop, and walk out, or best country and walk out the door. The categories are more expansive than that. So my point, at the end of the day, the Grammys is an American award. They showcase their American artists in its full form, giving you this record of the year that celebrates songwriters. Like they're going, way beyond just to recognize everyone in the industry. They're saying the record of the year, and they're saying song of the year. They don't want to exclude the producers and the writers. There's album of the year. I mean, what are we talking about? There's progressive R&B. I honestly don't even know what that means. I have to go read it up. Like, they are trying to expand and really cover the American music industry. We don't. That should not even be our requirement of them. But at the very least, if they were really trying to help us and not just grow their favoritability, or how do you say, grow their brand in Africa, because that's what this category is. They're just trying to use it to grow their brand. And they know that the Nigerian music audience is very reactionary, so they will speak about it, even if it's for participative trophy, giving participation trophies, like giving Rema the album, nominating him for album of the year, or nominating Thames for R&B song of the year, or Burner for melodic rap, knowing that they have no business being there and they're never gonna win. They don't have a shot. They're not, like, you cannot look at them and you say, oh, this has a shot. What's the essence of the categories then? If one is just there knowing there is no way you're winning, and you shouldn't even be here, because there are other songs for sure that can be in this category. Even the Americans know, right? So I mean, we're where we are, and it is what it is. I stand on everything I've said about this, and now that I kind of feel better in a weird way, kind of feel better. So I probably want to speak about this Grammys and all of these things again. It is what it is at this point. So let's get on to some other things real quick before we totally run out of time on the show for today. Let the kind of new music will be the last one we get to today. It looks like it, because I just need to get all of this out. Today's a special show, so we take it for what it is. There's something else that I've been thinking about, and we're talking about new artists. Whenever I know every Friday or before, some folks are releasing music before Friday now, so that's great. We have enough time to listen to it before I have to come in to the show to talk about some of these things. And I mean, life is lifing, and sometimes I don't get to listen to all of these songs like you will see today. When it's time to talk about that, I don't have enough time to listen to all of these songs, right? But whenever I do listen to it and I hear especially new artists, something always comes to my mind today. And because it's getting harder and harder, right, for artists to get involved in the music industry today. And kind of like the advice I kind of have for new artists coming into the industry in 2024 is, this might be difficult, but I think it is necessary that if you're coming into the industry, if possible, if possible, learn to produce to some extent. Produce yourself. This is 2024. There are tools out there to help either teach you on social media like YouTube and all of that. They're free tools out there, because it's getting harder to get noticed. It's getting harder to more expensive to produce the music, especially even if in a place like Nigeria. To get a producer is getting really, really hard. So if you're, and this is kind of like, this cannot even be for everybody, because there's some people who are already kind of at a certain age, or they've been in the industry for a while, that you're like, where do I start learning from at this point? But I'm like, well, if you're at a stage where you're just coming in, this is something you're thinking about, you're the early stages, my advice to you, learn to produce yourself. It would help you. It will give you even credibility. And it would even help you to make money on the side while you're trying to make your music. Thames is an example of that, right? A lot of people are like Kemwell, another example of that, producing himself. Nonso Amadi also does the same thing, producing himself, producing for others. Johnny Drill doing the same thing, producing himself, producing for others. And these are not like the most shiny, outside of Thames, these are not like the most shiny of all the artists out there. But I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the future, and I'm thinking it's going to get harder for new artists in this industry. It's going to get harder. And how do we mitigate some of these things? It's not, there is some level of production that you can do yourself. That would not cost you an arm and a leg. Some people are being held back today because they cannot afford the producer fees. They cannot afford the engineering fees. How do you get past that? If you're the early stages of your career, like you're still releasing your music on SoundCloud, bro, sis, go learn to produce yourself. There are tons of information out there to help you do that, because my mind is on that. The way the industry is going, right? How do people get out there and make money off this music? How do people blow? It's also my desire for people to blow, to hammer, like in this industry, right? Not everybody will get there, but I think one way that would help every artist, especially those at the beginning of their career, learn to produce yourself, man. It would help you. It will go a really long way. If you have the time, at this point, if you then have the money self, I will tell you, invest a year or two. It probably don't even release the song in a year. I think it will do you a lot. It would help your career a lot more to invest that money in spending a year to learn to produce yourself. And maybe you just have to pay an engineer to do it for you, right? I mean, if that like, and someone will say, well, not be everybody fit be producer, right? But you just have to try. I'm looking at the future. I'm like, how do you even make way? How do you separate yourself from the crowd of tons of, because the bar keeps lowering for amount of people that can come into the industry. How do you distinguish yourself, right? So it pays you to know some sort of production. I mean, it's just my own 2 cents. I'm not saying that this advice is the be all of all of this, but I think that is one thing that was kind of constantly on my mind this week that I felt like I needed to share with, I needed to share with you guys, right? So, I mean, yeah, I felt like I needed that. That was one thing on my mind that I felt like this can actually help some of the new artists that are trying to get into the industry today. I hope that helps. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, you guys know how much I care about like new artists, new music, and all of that. People trying to get into the industry. I have a little. I'm not saying I have all the like a degree of idea of what it means to be a new artist or a fresh new face in the industry today, but I have a little bit of experience in that, and I can tell you that will really help. It will save you a lot of money. It's gonna get a lot more expensive. Like the way producers are, it's like inflation right now. In that, getting a producer, getting a beat, online, having it cleared, bro. It's a lot. I don't even know how new artists can even come out today without even like a record label of something supporting them, right? How is it that artists are even going? How possible is it for an artist to even come out today, like to come into the mainstream today? I'm not saying like get known by everybody, but just get in today, right? Get your music heard, get in front of the right people, or getting the right playlist. I mean, all these things are expensive. I think if you spend time to learn to produce yourself, that takes away from tons of thousands of naira or even dollars, as we're hearing, that some people are having to spend just to get some sort of buzz today. Oh my gosh, we're really almost out of time, and I really want to get to new music. We'll talk about this. This is what I want to talk about. We'll talk about it next week. It was something that came up this week. It looks like we'll have to talk about it next week, because I really want to talk about the new music that came out this week and share some of my thoughts with you. I always want to do that, and it looks like time is gone. If not, we're going to spend so much time. But we'll talk about it next week, and wow, yeah, it's going to be a week out of the conversation, but it's fine. I really don't care. I will give my take whenever. So let's get to the new music and kind of run down on the show, kind of close the show on that today. The biggest, as you know, this week, Wizkid, his album is going to come out in a few days, actually. I think he said the album is come out November 22nd. That's crazy. That's on what, 1920, probably on Wednesday or something. We have to, oh my gosh, I didn't know did he say 22nd? I think so. Oh, that's on Friday. What am I even talking about? That's on Friday. So it's going to be interesting to see how that, but I'm excited about this Wizkid's album. The 2 songs already out tells me a lot about where, kind of like the direction of this album. He has a new song titled Dance. I heard the snippet. I mean, a lot of people will all have heard the snippet a while back, and I'm really, really impressed with this. I was listening to a couple of Chris Brown's Afrobeat songs he's released over the couple years now, from the ones he's done with Davido. Recently, there's one titled HMMM, and there's the one with Lil J and Davido as well. There's the one with Wizkid, and it's just, I was listening to this to this Wizkid Dance, and I was just like, this is good work. I listened to it, this is good work, right? It sounds good, it feels good. You don't have to do too much. I mean, Wizkid says and does a bunch of things, but I will not focus on the personal stuff. Focus on his music. This is good stuff. I'm excited about this album. Really, really excited about this album for sure. The one with Brett Favre released, is it? I can't remember the one from Brett Favre. The one he released, "Piece of My Heart" with Brett Favre. I really do like this song as well. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see what this album is like. And then this one titled Kese, titled Dance, incredible song as well. Another one out, Kizz Daniel Adekunle Gold. I saw the snippet, and you know what? I'm going to be avoiding snippets moving forward because I think some of these snippets do a disservice to some of these songs. I honestly would avoid snippets. And this one is one of them. I heard this song, the snippet to this song. I didn't even know why I listened to it, but it's just like, what's this? But this song by Kizz Daniel and Adekunle Gold, Panoton, I don't even know, Panoton. Um, I really do like this song as well. I really, really do like this song. See, Kizz Daniel, he almost, my goodness. Manotono, I almost get lost in words with Kizz Daniel because he's just incredible. I was talking about him as well, that the Grammy snubbing him, or probably him not submitting to the Grammys. I mean, that's a big deal for me. If he did never submit, I think I'm actually for that. I'm on his side. If he decides he never wants to submit to the Grammys, I'm like, yeah, go ahead. You don't have to. You don't need them to get to where you want. He is at a place today. He doesn't need a Grammys to eat from his music for the rest of his life. He's an incredible songwriter. He can decide to go on as many tours as he wants to. I mean, some of the things hindering him are, it's Kizz Daniel hindering Kizz Daniel at this point, at least from what we know the past few years. So I mean, there's almost no feat he can nowhere he can get to right now. I really do like this song. This snippet does it a big disservice. Kizz Daniel Adekunle Gold, Banotana. It's like turn off the light, put on the light. Is what he's saying there. And then Ruga Tiwa Savage, you titled Toma. I've said it here that Ruga is one of the most original artists we have there today. Special, very original. There's no other. It's not like he's trying to be someone else, trying to copy someone else. He's going to always amaze you on every record. He's got a unique style. He knows how to write. He's got the lamba. Basically, Rema has got. I say Rema. I keep saying Rema. Ruga has got the lamba, right, to make any record. He's a pop star, basically. He's your typical pop star. But he's like your Tiwa Savage, I said Tiwa Savage, your Taylor Swift, your Sabrina Carpenter, that can day in, day out wake up in the morning and give you a pop song, basically. He's your Ariana Grande, those kind of artists. They would give you a pop song that would sound good in your ear. The delivery is good. The production is on point. Incredible songwriter. That's who Ruga is. With Tiwa Savage on this one, they couldn't do any wrong personally for me on this record. Another one, Ajebo Hustlers, Victoni, Ave Maria. You see, like, of all the smoke I gave Victoni on his album, and like I said here, it's never personal to any artist, like to them as a person. We're just looking at their songs, and the moment you release your song, you cannot hoard it anymore. You cannot say we shouldn't give her a take. It's no longer yours. The moment it's also ours. The moment you release it, we also have some sort of investment in the songs, right? It's kind of also ours as well. So Ajebo Hustlers, Victoni, I really do like this song. Man, I think it's known now, but for those who don't, it's like, it's simple. An Afrobeat song is an Afrobeat song. Like, the major chunk of that is the melodies, right? The melody. If the melodies hit, you almost cannot go wrong. And that's what I found on this song. Ajebo Hustlers, they sounded a lot better than I think it would, because the style these guys have. Victoni just cushioned a lot of that. This was a really good song. Now, there's some others that I need to pay attention to. Like, I hear Inyanya has an album, Childhood 888. I haven't listened to it. One of the songs on that album I listened to, titled Look at You, is like I'm a piano thingy, and it sounded nice. But I didn't know that it was an album, or I wasn't paying attention to that. And then I saw that, oh, he actually has an album. I'll listen to that. I get back to you guys this next week about my complete thoughts about that. And there's some other new songs that came out that I haven't listened to yet. I have to be honest with you guys. I think one more that I listened to is I think it's the Mayorkun and Fireboy. This was a hard listen. I couldn't even listen to it to the end. You guys know I think I've spoken about Mayorkun here. I think he's a really talented artist. He works hard. I've seen a couple of videos and people are clowning him trying to get a particular line or verse right and all of that. And I'm like, yeah, this is hard work. This is someone working hard. And he collaborated with one of the kind of like darling artists right now. I'm talking about Fireboy on the song titled Innocent. This song wasn't it at all. It was just really, really far from where I think where I would imagine that these two artists coming together will produce. This was way below the standard for me, for sure. I haven't listened to this Rick Asani Neo Joe Boy. I will talk about him most likely next week. Let you guys know my thoughts. You can also follow me on social media. It's Tiae Sound on the Twitters. I would let you know my thoughts on this for sure. This during the week, maybe before we come back, before I come back next week on the show. Okay, so thank you. There's so many songs that I didn't have time to get to this week because I was just, life was just life in this past weekend. Couldn't get through everything. There's Johnny Drill and Don Jazzy. Haven't listened to that yet as well. I think there's a Battle Ranking, Deja. I mean, so much I didn't cover today, but I mean, we're already out of time. But I mean, we'll there's always time, okay? So please show up next week, okay? There's going to be more next week. We'll cover more next as well as I'm sure at that time the Wizkid album will be out. We'll all talk about it. We'll give you my take on that as well. I promise next week I probably will have caught up on everything, catch up also on the new music, let you know. As always, I'm open to your takes as well. If you have any thoughts about anything we've talked about on the show, like I say often here, that I don't come into these conversations with the know-it-all, and my thoughts are at the beginning and the end of the conversation. I always like to know what you guys think, so please hit me up, send me a DM on Twitter or on at Tiae Sound, Tiae Sound, or No Stand Pod on Twitter. Send me a DM, let me know what you think about any of the things we've talked about on the show today. My DMs are always open, and my mind and my heart is always open to hear what you have to say as well. I think that's nice. That's really, really nice. Although, if you come with something wild, I will tell you it's wild. I mean, I still think what I have to say is correct, backed by a lot of deep thought on this conversation. So, but as always, it's open. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. My DMs are open, and my heart is also open to the conversations you guys want to have. As always, I also want to know if you think how we can get better on the show. Please let us know. As always, please don't drink and drive. Don't text and drive. Until next week, stay blessed.